with you, but I've had at least $600,000 in sales as a result of what I spent on the Rebel event last year. Easy, maybe more. Before I decided to engage with the Rebel event and get involved with that, I would say that probably the low point was trying to understand my client base and realize that many of the leads that I was getting through mostly Facebook at the time were very poor quality. I did get name information, name, email, and phone number, but the effort that I put forth was extraordinary and the results were less than ordinary. So I think during the Rebel event, it challenged me to think differently about how I go about getting a better lead and what I could do to improve upon the effectiveness of me as a real estate agent. So it basically made me look at my business and kind of do an inside out and say, this is working, this isn't working, I need to change this, I need to refine this. And if I may, I also, going a little off script here, but I also took the agent launch class, probably 4 months prior to Rebel. It was in October when I did it last year. And that, if I can, I guess, be very direct, the one thing that I really took from the agent launch was don't be afraid to use AI, because up until that point, I was just like, you know what? It's intrusive. I don't want it in my life. I don't think, but when I went through your class and I saw the power that it gave to you as a function on how to do things better, I embraced it. And now I use the AI tools, not all day, but every day for sure, for something in my business. Very similar to my answer before. It was those doggone, I'll call them low quality Facebook leads. And I was maniacal about trying to connect with every single one of those. And I think I felt frustrated when someone made the effort to fill out the form and then wouldn't engage. And on any given day, I would probably get, I'll say anywhere between 3 to 6 of those leads. Again, many of them were poor quality and they didn't really want to engage anyway, but I refused to believe that. And I kept doing the same mentality, the same actions every day without getting any results. And again, so before that, Rebel, again, made me take a better look, a new look at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I use one of your terms all the time, basically fire half the clients that you've got, find the ones that want to work with you and get them what they want. And so I really have taken that to heart, and I've redirected some of my advertising money, if you will, to other areas, YouTube. I've, done a lot of small area marketing and things of that nature as opposed to the Facebook. So again, it just kind of taught me that, there's more better ways to do things than what I was doing, and basically said, hey, you're burning yourself out here, sir. Figure out a better way, or you're just not going to be successful at it. Fine question. I feel that, again, I'll kind of go back to a couple months prior. The agent launch was very introspective for me. Again, it made me think about my business, what I'm doing, and how to do it better or different. And what I wanted to do is go to the Rebel event and kind of take that to the next level and listen to Glenda Baker. I mean, fantastic speaker. She was, I don't know what I want to say. She was absolutely fantastic to listen to. Her real life approach, how she does things. I've tried to do that a little bit better. I no longer feel that you need to be perfect and scripted in everything that you do. People are more willing to engage with you if you're a little more realistic than scripted. And I tended to be prepared and scripted. So I've tried to, be prepared, but not scripted, and have more of a conversational feel with my clients, whether they're buying or selling. But to be honest, I mean, I knew all four of you guys that were doing the presentation in the seminar, and I was emotionally attached to all of you guys because I knew every one of you, and I was there more to be honest. I wanted to support you guys for sure, but I was also rooting for your success. And I was nervous, man. I will tell you, I was nervous when you guys were presenting because I wanted every one of you guys to do a great job, and every one of you guys absolutely did. So I'm one of these people that I like to get perspectives from multiple avenues and take a bit here, take a bit there, take a piece here, and then put it into something that I can use on my own with different piece parts. So I was very excited to go to Revel because I was kind of geek because I knew all the presenters, and I also wanted to take something from each one of you and incorporate it into what I do in any given day, week, month, or year. And I certainly did that. Very good. Thank you. I gotta say, I really enjoyed Glenda Baker and listening to her talk about some of her real estate experiences. Although she is I would say a very high producer, she brings it down to a level that anybody, whether you're new or been in the business for 10 or 15 or 20 or more years, there's a message in there for everybody to listen to and take heart with. Again, I really like the way that she engages on a very personal and real level. And she's got a story or an experience for just about anything that you can imagine. And I really liked her story about her selling the guy the wrong house. It goes, hey, wait a minute. That's not the house I wanted to buy. That's the house I wanted to buy. And she said she felt like that's small. But guess what? It had a positive outcome because he ended up liking the quote wrong house and taking that anyway. So, I mean, we all live stuff like that, and it's just like there's a high producer. She makes mistakes too. We all make mistakes, live through it and, make a story out of it and make it meaningful to somebody else. And, you kind of go through it so somebody else doesn't have to. That's the way I, try and run my business. I'll go take the fall and learn kind of what not to do so that together we don't take the same fall, in a week or a month from now. Certainly my deal velocity has picked up extraordinarily over my first couple of years into real estate. And I attribute that again to kind of making some changes, being a little more focused, a little more disciplined in some areas, but also trying to be realistic, relatable. I took a renewed focus, if you will, on my YouTube channel and the messaging. I do other social media, but my main outlet is on YouTube. And again, I've taken a pretty hard stance on that, and I've been very disciplined, and that pays dividends. I get a couple of the calls that are, I call come work with me, Brian, come list me, come help me buy a house or what have you. But again, just trying to always be, I'll say, critical about what I'm doing and take a look at how I could have done that transaction or a piece of the transaction in a better manner. Did I fall down here? Did the client fall down here? Did I not communicate appropriately? Did I forget something? So I look at all this, and there's a million pieces to any given real estate transaction. And part of that introspection has been, let's line things up. And as we progress through a sale becomes a closing, etc. What are all of the steps that I need to do in order to keep my client apprised of what's going on. So I've taken an approach where I'm a template guy. I've got a template for, what are we going to go look for when we go see a house? Well, here's a template for what are we going to do when we want to list a house? Here's a template for what comes, next after the deal has been accepted. What do you need to do, right after you get the keys? All of these little different templates. So those are created, and all I need to do then is drop the appropriate name and or address into the field, and I can send that. So I like that. It took me a long time to really go through and figure out how I wanted to lay that all out. But now that I've done it, I can duplicate that. And, the effort was put into the initial, but now the effort, it's there, but it's much more automated and much easier to do these things and keep on task and keep, the client informed and keep the sales process going. Good question. I think my best moment was the realization that in any given situation, there's multiple ways to do it. And in the event I'm stuck, I built a foundation of people that I can go to for assistance or help. And what I've tried to do is build, I'll call it a community of people and influencers that I can call on. When I'm working with a buyer or a seller, I've created a vendor list. So if somebody needs a plumber, if somebody needs an electrician, I have the ability to say, call this guy, call that guy, do this, do that. And they're people that I've come to know, like, and trust. And I know that they will do a good job, and they will, help facilitate a positive outcome for whatever it is that I'm engaging them for. So you're trying to build that and leverage that as well. So if I give, somebody a lead, my objective is not to get a lead back, but it's really help them in their business, and again, building that community. And if I can help somebody out do a electric job or a paint job or a plumbing job or something, that makes me feel really good, because what it does, it inevitably helps my client, because they didn't have to go through and find out, who do I call? Where do I go? How do I do this? I can kind of, make that marriage, if you will, and help them through that situation. That's a good question. I think embrace a little bit more of the artificial intelligence in my business. Again, I was very hesitant. I had that ChatGPT, and I was like, I don't need this. I just don't need it. But once I started exploring what it can do and how it can help me be more efficient, I mean, you can put any kind of doggone prompt in there. And I think part of the key is giving it a good prompt to get the outcome that you want. But I learned a lot of that from listening and watching, and I'll say kind of, copying and using some of the language that you used in some of that agent launch. And I take that, and I mean, if I'm doing a presentation, I happen to be doing a lead generation session at the Columbus Board of Realtors. And so I have used AI as a big proponent in how to plan, how to prepare my content as well. So again, I think probably the resistance towards engaging and using artificial intelligence in my business to kind of go and hook on it now, I think that's probably one of my biggest revelations. Yeah. So one of the things that Rebel, again, kind of taught me to do, and I was able to, I'll say, stop, is really when it came down to the Facebook advertising. I was using pretty much the same advertisement for about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And I kept thinking that Nirvana was around the corner on that, and it really never panned out. I did get a couple sales from it, but I felt that the time, the energy, the effort, and quite frankly, the money that I spent wasn't. So again, Rebel said, hey, again, what are you doing out there? Why are you doing it? And is there a better way? And when I took that and I said, let's piece part my business, that was one part of my business that I thought I could affect very quickly. And so I scaled way back on the money that I was spending. I tuned the advertisement, and instead of now getting, 3 or 4 leads a day, I might get 1 a week, maybe 2 a week that are much better quality. So again, just taking a look at what I'm doing. Am I doing it the right way? Is there a better way to doing it? And if so, stop doing what you're doing and implement the new thing. And be willing, this is key, be willing to evaluate that again in whatever your evaluation period is, whether it be 60 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to adapt. Because if you get stale, you're going to be passed up and someone else will get that sale, that listing. They'll be able to help that client that you could have, done a really great job with and help through the process. So be willing to change, be willing to adapt, be willing to analyze and, make the necessary changes that you feel will help your business. I can tell you that I know of it's kind of hard to quantify, but one of them for sure is one that you and I worked on, Ryan. I had a nice sale of a home that was worth, $450,000. So I spent, whatever it was on the Rebel event. So probably a 15-20 fold increase over what I spent. There was another one that was a much smaller sale that was kind of a direct result of what I spent. So it was probably the neighborhood. It's about $120 some odd $1,000 sale. So that just makes my return on investment for the Rebel event even better. But it's just a continuation. So keeping fresh with what that Rebel event taught me to do and kind of going back on that and listening to it, refreshing my familiarity with it. And again, just kind of, be willing to change and adapt. So I'm going to say as a direct result, I'd probably spent, I can't remember how much the event was, to be honest with you, but I've had at least $600,000 in sales as a result of what I spent on the Rebel event last year. Easy, maybe more. So if someone were to ask me, Brian, hey, was it worthwhile going to the Rebel event last year? And my answer would be unequivocally, absolutely yes. The community, the information, the presentation, the ability to, again, learn from some of the people that really do marketing and communication at a high level. Absolutely. The value is really what you want to get out of it. I went there with a very open mind and tried to absorb as much as I possibly could. I'm not one to, shut new ideas and new avenues off. I really go there trying to maximize what value I get out of it. And if you go to these events with that mindset of, there's something here to be learned, there's something here to be changed or implemented. If you go there with that mindset, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you will come away from the event I did last year, then the event this year, you will come away from that event with something, that light bulb's going to go off and you're going to say, I need to change this. I need to refine this. I need to do this instead of that because it's going to maximize my return on my investment.